morning, DFS Army. How's everybody doing on hashtag Freebie Friday? That is right. All NBA articles, the NBA Research Station, which just went live a few moments ago, and all NBA coaches' notes are free today over at DFS Army. So head on over and give us a look. No reason not to check this out today and see what we have to offer. Also remember, we have promo code New Year, which will save you 20% on your first month's membership that expires midnight tonight. So make sure you come over and use that promo code to get that 20% off that first month. So you can click on the link below or head on over to DFSArmy.com and see what we got cooking. Also be much appreciated if you could give this video a like, a follow, or subscribe to show that you want more of these videos. You know, I appreciate the support. It's been great, but it shows me that you want me to do more of these videos down the road, and I'll keep pumping them out as long as you want them. So let's jump into this NFL 2-game Saturday divisional round slate and see how we can approach it via MME. And we can go over some cash plays too, but on a 2-game slate, I'm just playing tournaments today, so let's give it a look. So, starting at the quarterback position, again, we got these 2 games on Saturday are KC and Indianapolis. I've heard some talk about weather and you know, there's going to be snow, there's going to be not snow. I ain't worried about it. The more I look into it, it's just going to be flurries. I'm not worried about it all. And even if there is a little bit of snow, it usually benefits the offensive player. So I'm not worried about this. And this is the game that, if you're playing single entry, it's the game you want to target. And then we got the later game with Dallas heading into the Los Angeles Rams. So let's first look at quarterback in this slate. And I'm just going to go how I would break this down for DraftKings. If I was mass multi-entering 150 lineups. I'm not going to run them this time like I did in my last video, but I'm just kind of show you maybe the projections or the percentages that I would use when building this, to maybe guys that get overweight on or underweight on. And I think it's pretty straightforward this week. We should have a lot more offense than last week. Last week was some horrific games, and I'm not going to go in there with how bad my stinking Bears played, but it is what it is. So at quarterback, again, the first game we got Mahomes and Luck. These are the guys I want to own the most of. I don't think there's any quarterback just to completely cut off the list here. But you know, KC rides or dies with Luck. I mean, with Mahomes, and same with Indianapolis. It's just with Luck. I know Mac had a big game last week, but they got up on Houston and they just fed him the ball. And I just don't see that happening this week. So I think it's going to put more of the emphasis on Luck's arm. And then with the second game with Goff and Prescott, I'd want to touch those guys, but not much. So I think I would run, let's say, 45% Mahomes, 35% Luck, and maybe run 10H here. Just with the big salary discrepancy, there is a chance these guys can be in the winning lineup. Again, I think Prescott's going to have to throw a lot more here on the road. That could be good or bad, but he's going to have to do more this game if they're going to stay close and have a chance. So again, it's the Mahomes show here at home. Big playoff game for them. They're 5-point favorites, but they also have the highest implied total at 31 points. So you're going to want a piece of them. It's not even, I think the next one down against Colts got 26. So yeah, you're going to want a lot of Mahomes here. So let's look at running back. Running back's pretty cut and dry. The big decisions you got to make is if you're playing both or just one of Elliott and Gurley. So there's really only so many running backs in play on this slate. Now I think Mac's going to be pretty popular because of what he did last week. But again, because Indy got up on Houston pretty early, they were able to feed him the ball more. And I don't see that happening this week as much. And when you have Gurley only 1,400 more, I just would push some ownership further up on Gurley. Not saying I would fade Mac completely, but we're going to get ownership on Mac probably around 25-30%, maybe closer to 40. He ain't going to be too high because I think a lot of ownership is going to be on Elliott and Gurley, but this is where you could make a stand. Maybe go lower on him. And I know Hines absolutely screwed us last week, but the game script just didn't go his way. I mean, it just didn't push for a Hines game because they got up. So Mac got all that work. And then for KC, it's Damian Williams and Ware. So really, these are the only running backs that I would highlight and run. And then is it going to be Williams or is it going to be a Ware game? They're smart. They would just keep running Williams out there. But I don't mind some Hines. Some Ware. So I would throw maybe 15% on Hines. And on Ware, maybe 10% just in case. And then all your ownership's going to be up here. Gurley's going to be, I think, higher owned than Elliott just because he's cheaper. And Elliott's game script proof as well. He does everything for that team. He'll catch balls out of the backfield. So I don't mind either one of these guys. I think I would start them out both at 50%. And then later just kind of play with things. And like I said, Mac and Williams, just start out around 25% each, and then kind of see where you're at. But I think on this game, to get ahead of the field, maybe go a little lower on Mac and heavier on Hines. The Chiefs are, where's he here? The Chiefs are the Colts are 4th against the run, but 25th against the pass out against running backs, DVOA. So that bodes well for Hines. And I'm not saying they can't throw Mac out of the backfield. But if you're going to get weird somewhere, I would maybe get less on him and then go heavier on Damian Williams. Where, he could have a huge game and he's 1,300 less. And then the same thing with Elliott and Gurley. Gurley's going to be more popular. And Goff could just throw the ball a game as well. So if you're going to get, not saying to fade Gurley, but maybe go heavier on Elliott and lighter on Gurley, and then go heavier on Williams and then lighter on Mac, just to try to get a little different. You don't fade any of these guys because any of these four can have a big game. And then Hines and Ware are just kind of filler pieces for some salary relief, especially 3,300. If they get behind, he could get a lot more work this game. And with how he screwed everybody last week, he's definitely worth a shot in some GPPs. Wide receiver. It really comes down to your four guys up top. With Hilton, again, I prefer him on the track. I prefer him any indoors on turf, but they're going to have to throw the ball here. I think my favorite plays on this game when it comes to any kind of receiving core is the tight ends on both teams, where both teams are 29th and 25th against the league and DVOA against tight ends. And that's where I would be targeting the most here. I love the tight ends. And like I said, I don't mind a double tight end week on these two gamers because Ebron could put up, 4 catches for 3 touchdowns. Zeke over Gurley this week for sure for me for ownership, and Rams have multiple weapons compared to the Cowboys. That's what I'm thinking as well, man. So if you're trying to take a stance to get over the field where ownership's going to be on Gurley where he's cheaper. That's where we'll go and attack Zeke a little bit more when he's just a little bit more expensive. But back to wide receivers. This is when it comes down to Hill can break a slate, and you gotta have some Hill, and you gotta have some Hilton. But I think in GPPs, I think it's going to be won or lost down in the lower range here with Cooper, Woods, or Cook. Between Woods and Cooks, I prefer Woods over Cooks. Dallas tends to keep the ball in front of them and not give up them big plays, and that's where Cooks lives, that deep ball threat. So I prefer Woods, and I prefer Reynolds. Just, we'll need some salary savings if we're going to pay for some expensive running backs. So I kind of like the Reynolds and Woods, and I'll be lightest on Cooks in this on the Rams. On KC, really, it's again, Hill I'd probably run 50%, Hilton 50%, and kind of see where it sits. But I still would rather, I think, run some of the heavier running backs and then find this value with Hood or Woods, Amari Cooper. They're going to have to throw the ball a ton to stay in this game. And with that injury we saw last week with Hearns, it's that wide receiver core is a little bit banged up. So we could see, Gallup getting more work. Beasley, I think, was still fighting an ankle injury last week. He was kind of struggling through it. So Gallup could be a guy that can see a lot more work this game as well. I don't see them getting up and just pound the ball with Zeke here. They're going to be playing catch up, I think. So I don't mind some Gallup here. So if I was going to set this, I might set these guys at 50. Maybe Cooper Kupp around 35. Woods 35. And then I'm going to go underweight, where I think Cooks could be around 20%, 25. And I would just rather go maybe 10 just to get underneath them. And then Indy, I think, is going to be playing catch up as well. And KC is tough against wide receiver 2s, but they give it up against wide receiver 3s. So maybe this is where Chester Rogers steps in and sees some more work. So I don't mind going, on a guy that's going to be low owned, and we got to find some of those low owned guys. Where he's probably sub 10%, maybe sub 5%. I don't mind going a guy like this, saying let's go 15 to 20% on a guy like him. So let's make a stand kind of on Rodgers, and then on Gallup, say let's go 20% on him, and maybe 15 on Reynolds, and then Inman, I'll go down to 10. And then just kind of run it. And so these other guys, I don't really care where they sit. I like to run. I'll run it a few times and kind of see the percentage it's going to give me, and then I'll play around with it. And like I said, you might run this thing 100 times until you like your percentages, but I like to kind of set a minimum exposure on guys that I do want, and then let it run. And for me, like when it comes down to wide receiver, everyone's in play. Zach Pascal could catch 2 touchdown passes for whatever reason for Indianapolis, and basically break the slate at 3K. So I don't mind having just a little bit of pieces of these guys, because you just really don't know. Running back, I like to have a tight core, even against these 2-game slates, and really set it up where my exposures are going to be the most vast in the wide receiver, because it's the most volatile position that there is. So let's head over to tight end. And again, tight end is pretty easy this week. It's Kelsey and Ebron. And like I stated, these guys are some of the worst teams to defend DVOA for tight ends in the league. And Kelsey's been like top 10 in targets all year. And I'm not talking just tight ends or wide receivers or running backs, just top 10 any player in the league this year. So you have to love him. I mean, he's 1,300 more than Ebron. But he's the kind of guy I could go, say, 75% on. Or if you're really feeling frisky, just lock button him if you think he's going to get all the work. That's how you attack Indy. So it's one of those decisions you got to make, you know. And Ebron, let's just say if you're gonna go 75 on him, you probably gotta go like maybe 40% on him, or maybe 30. And then when you set it, I would set a few lineups with double tight ends because I don't mind running both of them here because, you know, game stack that first game about any way you can, and double tight ends is a good way to go. Because maybe you do double tight ends and then you run, you know, Gurley and Zeke, and then you go cheap at wide receiver with some of the guys we mentioned with Mahomes up top. And then the other guys we got, basically, I don't really want to touch besides, you know, Everett and Jarwin are okay. I mean, if Dallas is behind, they got to throw. These guys are like 5 to 10% plays. Same with Higbee. I wouldn't touch any of these other three. I just don't think they're going to get there. And when you have, you know, they're basically the same price, I think your range of outcomes for these guys are just a little higher to get a few catches than Harris, Alley Cox, or Schultz. So, yeah, I would set these guys again 5 to 10%, all three. Just, you know where you want to be, and it's Kelsey. So, like I said, if I was going to lock button one guy on this slate, it would be Kelsey. He's just the guy I feel the most comfortable with. Again, with the running backs, just to go back to them real quick. Again, I don't see locking one of these guys in because it really dictates the rest of your lineup. And it could be a Zeke day, it could be a Gurley day. And even though I'm going to go a little lower, I think, on Mac, that doesn't mean he can't have a big game. It's just you have to take a stand when you're running these 2-game lineups and kind of go underweight, you think, on the field on some of these and then overweight on others. So if I'm going to go underweight on Mac, then I better go overweight on Hines, just because I think the game they're going to be playing from behind and Hines might get more work. So when you're building your lineups and you're building your percentages, have that in mind. Know that there's risk involved when you're doing it, but just make that decision and live with it. So let's look at defenses real quick. Yeah, they're all pretty cheap except for the Rams. And there's no defense that I'm just like, I want to go extremely heavy on. I think the Rams at home, Donald could just tear them up. I think maybe they would be the highest I would own, but, you know, nothing crazy. I might run 30% Rams, and then, you know, maybe run 20% down the field on all the rest of these, because you're just looking, you know, they're all basically the same price. Defense is your most volatile position. You're just looking for a turnover. Maybe in that KC Indy game, you know, the field is a little slick, and maybe we get some fumbles or return for a touchdown or something by defense. So you just kind of have to spread these out. I really don't have a preference besides maybe just Rams at home. They're the biggest favorites on the board. That defense could get to Prescott, and maybe, you know, if they got to push the ball down the field to stay up with them, then, you know, Prescott can make some mistakes, and that wide receiver core is, again, with Hearns down, is just one less guy to throw to. And again, when I'm running this in our Domination Station, I'll run it on tournament mode, and I run 2 uniques, and then I'll run, you know, 4 max players against my defense, which just allows, again, on a 2-game slate, sometimes people forget to do that, and I don't think the optimal lineup's going to have, you know, all the players and then a separate defense. I think you're going to have players against your defense just because that's just the nature of only having 2 games. So make sure you remember that when you're setting up your lineups and in the optimizer here. So again, that's how I would approach this slate. Make your stands. Like I said, I think I'll go. My big stand is I'll go a little light on Mac. I'll go heavier on Elliott over Gurley. I'll go more Hines than Mac, and then I'll still go Williams over Ware, even though I still want to sprinkle a Ware just in case. But I'll have more Williams than Mac, and then just hope that you hit the nuts, man. And again, We're doing, again, hashtag Freebie Friday. It's, like I said, our NBA research station. Articles, coaches' notes are all free today, so come on over and give them a look. And then don't forget promo code New Year, which saves you 20% on your first month at DFSArmy.com. So again, there's a link below, or just type in www.dfsarmy.com and hit that promo code. And yeah, I hope to see you over there. I'll be in our chat all night, and I'll have my notes up. And then if it doesn't get too crazy, I might do a live before lock video and kind of talk about cash setup or maybe tournament, and just how the slate's coming together for me with roster construction for NBA tonight. So again, hope to see everybody over there, and I appreciate you taking the time. Deuces.